Welcome, listeners of Echoes of the Past. I'm your host, Sarah. And in this episode, we're discussing one of the most fascinating and mysterious civilizations of all time, the Maya. With us today is Dr. Nader, professor of archaeology. Dr. Nader, welcome.
Hello, Sarah, and thank you for this invitation.
Doctor, when we mention the Maya civilization, the first things that come to mind for most of us are those dramatic predictions about the end of the world or that mysterious calendar. But as experts, what truly baffles you about this civilization?
Actually, what's most impressive, not frightening, is their remarkable advancement in science. Imagine, deep in the jungles of Central America, without complex metal tools or even a wheel for practical use, the Maya developed an incredibly advanced mathematical system, and they were the first to use the concept of zero in the New World. Their astronomical observations were so precise that their calendar was more accurate than the European calendar used at the same time.
That's truly amazing. But this leads us to one of the biggest mysteries. How could such an intelligent and scientific civilization disappear? We see their great cities like Tikal and Palenque deserted, covered in jungle. What exactly happened?
That's the central question, Sarah. And the answer isn't simple. We don't think there was a single cause, but rather a perfect storm of factors. First, there's evidence of a long, terrible drought that lasted for decades. Imagine an agricultural society facing a water shortage. Second, population growth depleted resources. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, there were the constant internal wars between the Mayan city-states. We found inscriptions that describe brutal battles, the likes of which no one would have imagined. Science didn't protect them from the struggle for power.
So it wasn't a sudden disappearance, but a slow, complex collapse.
Exactly. The picture we have now isn't a mass exodus in one night, but a process of decline that lasted for hundreds of years. The population didn't disappear, they dispersed and migrated from the great cities to small villages. Great knowledge began to fade, and monumental architecture ceased. The great civilization became a memory.
A memory that left us its writings on the walls. But I read that deciphering the Mayan script was a modern miracle. Why was it so difficult?
Because when the Spanish conquistadors arrived, they systematically burned all the manuscripts they found, deeming them demonic works. Only 4 original manuscripts survived. Imagine, we lost an entire library. This made the task nearly impossible. For centuries, scholars believed it was merely symbolic drawings, but the brilliant discovery was realizing that the Mayan script is a combination of symbols representing sounds and others representing ideas. It was like solving a huge jigsaw puzzle with 90% of the pieces missing.
This reminds us that Mayan history was written by the victors, or in this case, by the destroyers. Dr. Nader, if we were to take one lesson from the Mayan story, what would it be?
The most important lesson, in my opinion, is fragility. No civilization is immune to collapse, no matter how powerful or knowledgeable it is. Balance with the environment, social stability, and cooperation instead of conflict are not secondary matters. They are the foundation for the survival of any civilization. The Maya taught us how the human mind can reach its peak, but they also teach us how environmental and social challenges can bring it back to square one.
Words brimming with wisdom. Thank you so much, Dr. Nader, for this fascinating journey into the world of the Maya.
Thank you, Sarah. It was a pleasure.
Dear listeners, this has been another episode of Echoes of the Past about the enigmatic Mayan civilization. Until next time, this is Sarah signing off. This is brought to you by Voices of Knowledge.